All right, guys, let's get started right away. Now that you've seen the game we're going to make, you're all excited, I'm excited, and let's just start making our tower defense game. So first thing you're going to do is open up Unity, and you can name your project whatever you want. I'm going to name mine Tower Defense. And I'm also going to click on 2D. Make sure you click on 2D here. You can change it later, but it's easier to deal with it here. Save it to whatever location you want and enable Unity Analytics. Keep that off and then click Create Project. And what we're going to do is get everything set up in our project right now. We're going to get all of our PNGs to sprites and just get our whole layout of our project so it's all nice and pretty and laid out and ready for all the hard work we're about to do. All right, shrink this all over. There we go. Let's go. There we are. All right, I like to just select 16 by 9 right now, down in your game scene. And now you see up here in our scene editor, you see a nice white outline, and that is where we're going to build our game. But first, let's get some assets loaded up. The cool thing is we've included some really sweet assets. Let's just open those up here, and I'll go through them right now. First is our models of our enemies. Our enemies are going to be marching across our level like you saw in the intro. And right here we have 3 different types of enemies, and if you open them up, it's just a bunch of character pieces, and that would be our model for this character. And I will show you what we're going to do with all this stuff in just a second. So first things first, you can actually take this whole model folder and drag it right into your assets folder like that. And it places everything in here. It's perfect. And we want it to be called models, so it works out great. And then also we have a plugins folder, which is our VS Code. And if you prefer mono over VS Code, you don't have to do this. But I would much rather use Visual Studio Code than mono any day of the week. So you can go ahead and drag this whole folder into your assets as well, and we'll implement that in just a second. And then now we have all of our sprites. And our sprites, you'll see our enemy here, and if you open up any of these folders like attacking, you'll see that there are 11 PNGs here, right? And what this is a series of PNGs all through, the motion of this character attacking. And I'm going to show you how to turn it into an animation and all that cool stuff. And what's really great about Unity now is when we drag this enemy into our sprites folder, it's going to convert them all from PNG to sprites right away, and we don't have to do anything. So we have, we have our enemy with all his different actions that he can do, and it's the same for enemy 2, 3. And then we have a folder here called extras, and that's going to just be, little finishing details that we can put on our level. Fences, grass, tombstones, just a whole bunch of cool stuff that really helps polish the details of our level. It'll make it look a lot more professional, and it's fun to mess around with. And then we have our ground tiles. We don't have that much here, but I'm going to explain them. So basically this little square is where we're going to allow our towers to be placed. And then we have, all of our paths. So this is a corner piece, another corner piece. This is our grass. This is going to be all the area that, our enemies can't march. And then the rest of it is just all different pieces to our path. And we'll be building all this up very shortly. And let's go into so now our GUIs Our GUI folder is going to be things like buttons that we add, or like loading bars and all that. We'll get more into this later. We're actually not going to import this at this time. We'll be dealing with that in a few videos from now. And then we have our towers. So we have all our different towers, and there'll be different prices in the game. And one tower will, you know, kill soldiers faster than the other. It'll be like upgrading. And then we also have our castle, and our castle's just going to be placed for decoration. But we have all these cool buildings, so we're gonna get all these assets imported, and it's going to be cool. All right, so let's go ahead and right-click assets and hit create new folder. And we're going to call this sprites. And then if we go to sprites, we can go ahead and, since we're not importing everything, I'm just going to do this separately for now. We can drag our arrow. Oh, yeah, I should show you our arrow. You can see it right here. That's going to be shot from our towers to kill our enemies. So we can drag that right into sprites. And now I like to see this little pull down at the bottom of the assets folder. I like to make this as small as possible, and then it puts everything in list form. It's just easier when you're working. But if you pull this open, or if you click on it, you'll see that it says it's a sprite 2D. So it actually converted our PNG file right to sprites. So it saves us a step, which is really nice. So now we can go back and we can continue dragging in our assets. So now we can actually, you know, pick all of these at the same time. And if you hold command and click on towers, you can do that as well. Let's drag these all into sprites. All right, and there we go. So we can close our assets folder. We have everything we need now to get our project rolling. Let's go ahead and get this Visual Studio Code hooked up right away. Go to Unity, Preferences. All right, go to Visual Studio, and we'll use Unity Debugger in order to, we'll worry about that later. All right, so everything's good here. You want to just make sure you enable it. Make sure all these checks are done. All right, so that's good. And now to make sure it opens, you always want to say open C# in project code. And we're good to go. So now this opens. This is connected to our project, and we're not using Mono. If you prefer Mono, you don't have to do any of that. And when you make scripts, you'll already be good to go, and it'll open Mono for you. All right, so we need to make a couple more folders here. Let's right-click assets and hit create folder. We need one called animations. And we're going to store our animations and our animation controllers in this. So if you click on this, you'll also want to create 2 new folders inside of this, and one is going to be called animations. That's where we'll store our enemies' animations. And then we'll also create one called animator controller. Whoop. Controller. And that is where we will actually store the animator controller. And I will show you how all that works later on. It's nice and easy. It's a nice GUI form to see everything and to select what your default animation is to a sprite and all that good stuff. But we will get to that shortly. All right, so now we also need another folder inside of assets. So create new folder. And this is going to be called prefabs. And basically prefabs are an object you create, and you want to keep reusing the same ones. It makes it easy to make one change and have it apply to your whole project. If you have, like, in our case, we're going to have multiple enemies marching across the screen. If we want to change something about them, we only have to change it in one place, and it'll be there for the whole thing. So it's pretty nice. All right, so let's see. We have animations, models, plugins, prefab, sprites. We need scripts, and this is where we're going to be storing all of our code. All right, and then we need scenes, and this is where you would store your game scenes. So like different levels or whatever you would be using. In our case, it would be, you know, different maps. If you beat a level and you get a new map, it would be a different scene. All right. So actually, if we hit, you know, Control S if you're on Windows or Command S if you're on a Mac, you can save your scene right now, and I'll call this level 1, or you can call it main, whatever you want. And you'll see that it just places it in the assets folder. So what we're going to do is actually drag it to our scenes folder. Oop. Cancel. Drag it right into your scenes folder, and now you'll see it right there. Pretty cool. Okay, so what do we need to do first? I would say we need to start making a map so we can see stuff and get excited about our game, right? So what I would suggest doing is let's create an empty object. And let's call this, we can call it map 1. This is going to be basically our course, or, you know, the world we design right here. We're going to put all the child sprites and everything inside of this object. So if we go to our ground sprites and let's drag it into our map, and you're going to see that this thing is giant, right? We need it a lot smaller than this. So what we're going to do to change the size, and all these are going to be the same size, I'll show you just so you can see it. So they're all very large, right? And a way so we don't have to mess with the scale and everything, we can leave everything, you know, 1-to-1 ratio, and it'll be nice. It'll be a lot easier for us down the road. You can actually click on this and see these pixels per unit. If we change this to 300 and then hit apply, look at that. That looks a lot better. And that is the size that we're going to use. And the only reason I know that size is I already built this and I just messed around with it until I came to a size that I liked. And that's pretty much what you do with, you know, setting things up in Unity when you're trying to figure out how your world should look. It's just messing around with things and making sure it's, you know, visually pleasing and the way you want it. So we want all these tiles to be 300 pixels per unit. So now we can just click here, hold shift, click on the bottom ones, and we can do the rest of them all at once. So go ahead and put 300 here, hit apply. And you just saw that our ground here also changed. I'm going to, there we go. There, now move it out of the way so you can see it. All right, so I'm going to delete the build ground, and I believe you just hit delete if you're on a Windows computer. It's command delete or command backspace if you're on a Mac to delete. What we're going to do is create another empty object, and we are going to call this, you can call it grass or ground, whatever you want. I'm going to call mine ground. And let's drag the grass into it. And so you can probably notice that right now, like, it'd be really hard to, you know, copy and paste. So, you know, Command C, Command V, or Control V, or Control C and V for Windows. You want these to be able to snap to each other, right? Like this doesn't work very well. Like, it'd be really hard to quickly build our world and make sure everything's like lined up, and we don't want that. So we're going to use something called snap settings, and snap settings are in your edit menu, and if you pull that down, snap settings are right here. And basically right now you're going to see probably 1, 1, and 1, and 1. And we're going to want to change it to 0.85. And 0.85 is the size of our tile. And that will make the edges snap great next to each other. So the thing that's kind of annoying, every time you place a tile, first you have to snap all axes before you can actually. So if you hold Command and then click, now it'll snap exactly where we want it. But the problem is if you don't first snap it, it won't know where to snap, so everything will be off. But see how these all snap together now? I'm just holding Command. And I believe you hold Control on a Windows machine, and it'll snap the same way. And I'm going to build outside of the box by, like, 1 square just to make things a little easier. And right now we're going to first just layer this whole thing with grass, and then we'll delete where we want the path to go. It'll just go a lot quicker because we can actually, shift and select all these, and then hit Command copy, Command paste. And now if I hold Command, I can snap them in, and then paste again, hold Command, and snap them in. And it takes a while at first, but we can come over here, Control or copy paste, and then hold Command and just move these around. And we're going to need one more here. All right, there we go. Now we can select this whole row and paste, and then hold Command and drag it off. And then we can select this whole column again. Now we have 2 rows. Command paste, and then hold Command. There we go. So it goes a lot quicker once you have some grass built. And just copy and pasting, guys, and then snapping with Command, holding down Command. All right, and we need 3 more rows. I'm just going to do what we have here, and then we can delete a row. All right, I'm just going to flip the snap settings, get away from now. Delete on Windows will delete things. You have to hold Command delete on a Mac. All right, so if we go ahead and, oh, that's not what I want. All right, so 273 to 84. So just hold Shift, and we can hit Command delete, and that whole row is gone. So now we have our grass. Like, that's pretty cool, right? All right, I'm gonna save my progress. All right, so now once we have all this grass, like, this is crazy, we can just shrink that down, and then we're going to drag this ground into our map object. So as you can see, eventually our whole level will be contained in the map, nice and organized, and it won't be, hundreds of sprites.